This is the story of a man whose life was suddenly turned upside down, based on the real prison diary of Elena Moriaco. An ordinary hard worker, a model family man, and a man who worked 12 hours a day to provide for his children. One night, white funnel cars pull up to his house. The police burst in as if they were catching dangerous criminals and announced the unbelievable. Elena and his wife were accused of pedophilia. The house is turned upside down. The frightened children cry. The computer is confiscated. Old floppy disks are put into bags. Every object is potential evidence. Elena is handcuffed and led away. He asks for only one thing: to call his parents so they can pick up the dog. His request is denied. Then it gets even worse. They take him to work and give him a list of 17 names. Who do you know? He sees that he has only communicated with one person out of all of them. But that doesn't matter to the investigation. During another interrogation, they show him photographs of adults and children. The only child he knows is his son's school friend. For the gendarmes, this is enough to bring new pressure and accusations. They break him psychologically. They promise to release his wife. They threaten his children. They hint that it would be better to confess. But he continues to stand his ground, realizing that a step back would be an admission of something he did not do. His lawyer brings even worse news. He is not alone in this trap. Other arrested individuals are also involved in the case. Some of them are actual pedophiles who, in order to save themselves, are snitching on innocent people to shift the blame onto others. The judge, a young and ambitious man named Burgo, does not believe in the presumption of innocence. He asks vague, cunning questions, turning every word Elena says into an insinuation of guilt. No one is interested in the medical examination, which does not confirm the violence. Elena is sent to prison. At the last moment, her lawyer manages to warn her. Don't tell anyone why you're in prison, or you won't survive. In a shared cell with real criminals, he sees for the first time on television what his case has turned into. The couple to whom he once delivered a summons claimed that they sold their children to clients because of poverty. Some people have already been arrested, and the investigation assures that this is only the beginning. One day, his sister comes to visit him and tells him the terrible news. The children have been taken to a foster family to avoid pressure. And in court, 2 women from the prosecution recount fabricated horrors with such confidence, as if they had memorized them in front of a mirror, about violence in lieu of debt and beating children to make them obey. The witnesses' testimonies are inconsistent and contradict each other. But even the obvious inconsistencies do not cause the judge to doubt the prosecution's version. Elena is temporarily brought home, not to her family, but to the police, who conduct a new search. They are looking for evidence that matches the fantasies of the accusers. Clothes, toys, any items that could have been touched by children who allegedly visited this house. Amid the chaos, the man manages to catch a glimpse of his wife for just a second. A heartbreaking sight that brings no answers. Time passes, but only for the outside world. For Alan, it has frozen. The appeal is rejected. The only thing that still connects him to life are letters from his wife, children, and relatives. New Year's Eve arrives. In prison, they celebrate as best they can, noisily, loudly, desperately. For many prisoners, this is the only holiday they have left. But for Alain, there is only one piece of news on this day. Terrible news. His mother has died. Stress, her son's humiliation, endless waiting, all this broke her. Upon hearing this, he faints right on the threshold of the judge's office. The only humanity he is allowed is a short trip home to say goodbye to his mother. Meanwhile, the investigation turns into a farce. Olin learns from the news that the case is being expanded to include new charges. Now it's about murder. Seeing that the man is rapidly deteriorating, the psychologist believes that his condition could lead to depression. He is transferred to a closed clinic, where, in theory, it should be safer. The interrogations continue. The judge nitpicks every word. Even the guards exchange glances. It is all too obvious that this is not an investigation, but a hunt. And then one day Olin decides to take a desperate step. In the medical ward, where it is easier to get hold of banned pills, he orders a whole pack through the prison dealers and swallows them all. But death passes him by again. They pump his stomach and bring him back to life. His lawyer arrives, and for the first time in a long time brings good news. His wife has been released on bail. The appeal for his conditional release has been accepted for consideration. For the first time in a long time, Alain feels a glimmer of hope. He packs his things in advance. He waits. But a new refusal arrives. His wife does not contact him after her release. His sister is sure that she has found someone else. This news breaks Alain completely. In his cell, he makes a noose out of a sheet. At the last moment, something stops him. Then he chooses another path, the path of struggle. He writes a letter to all the higher authorities, stating that he is being held in custody without evidence, that the case is not being investigated, that he is ready to die from a hunger strike, just to be heard. He knows that if he dies, it will be a stain on the French justice system. But no one responds to the letter. The hunger strike brings only pain. His legs begin to fail him. He sees hallucinations. His lawyer begs him to stop. He needs to live until the jury trial. He files a new complaint, this time personally to the Minister of Justice. And then one morning, nurses enter the ward, smiling, excited. Alain is released. He is transferred to a hospital, outwardly free, but in fact still under guard. Gradually he learns to walk, eat, and live again. The food has no taste. His taste buds have atrophied during his hunger strike. His lawyer informs him that until the trial, he will live with his niece and is prohibited from leaving. He calls his wife. Their marriage is over. At the custody hearing, he sees his children for the first time in 2 years. The new guardians want to take the two youngest. In the courtroom, Elena is overcome with anger. It was the indifference of the judges and the heartlessness of the system that destroyed his family. The jury trial begins. The lawyer questions the woman who accused 15 people, and almost immediately catches her in a lie. She cannot remember one of the rapists. And when it turns out that the driver who allegedly drove the children is disabled and unable to drive a car, the lie becomes obvious. The woman confesses. She falsely accused one of them, but 13 are definitely guilty. After her words, the judge immediately announces a recess. After the break, her son, the boy who was supposed to be the main witness, is questioned. But the very first sentences make it clear to the lawyers that the child is repeating someone else's words, reciting a memorized text, whose meaning he does not understand. But the most frightening thing is that the child, on whose testimony half of the case was built, does not recognize any of those who, according to him, raped him. He looks at the defendants and does not understand who these people are. A commotion begins in the courtroom, and people exchange indignant glances. And the boy's mother realizes that it is no longer possible to pretend. She stands up, and one by one she addresses each of the defendants by name, asking for forgiveness. She admits that these people are innocent. She does not know Alain Moreco and his wife at all. Her son simply mentioned his classmates' parents once. And when the judge asks how she recognized them from the photographs, the woman replies, "It's very simple. The names were written above the pictures." The trial is adjourned. The next day, Bergeau, the young judge who had kept Alain in custody, ignoring the defense's evidence, is summoned. Before the higher courts and under the weight of the facts, he is forced to answer. The lawyer calls a spade a spade. Bergeau had no direct evidence. The entire investigation was based on the words of witnesses, people who had already admitted to lying. But even this does not make him show remorse. He coldly declares that he acted rationally and is not obliged to sympathize with broken lives. In the debate, Moreco's lawyer criticizes the entire French judicial system. He points out that an inexperienced judge can conduct an investigation based on only one side, completely ignoring the defense. But no miracle happens. The verdict is handed down to everyone. Even Alain Moreco is accused of corrupting his own son. The courtroom reacts with a murmur of discontent. People are outraged, especially after the false witness's confession. But the judge simply stands up and leaves. The next scene is a hospital ward. Alain tries to kill himself again. He is saved again. And then a female lawyer offers him a humiliating option: to declare himself incapacitated in order to receive benefits. He looks at her silently, with the eyes of a man who has nothing left to lose. The film ends with a historical reference. In December 2005, the Paris Court of Appeal fully acquitted Alain Moret and 5 other people. It became the biggest legal scandal in France. In 2009, the Supreme Court officially acknowledged the mistakes and negligence of Judge Bourgault. But no lawyer was ever punished. It was only in 2007 that Alain was reinstated as a bailiff. The film ends with an audio file confirming his return to work. This story shows that when the system makes a mistake, it can destroy lives. But it does not always rush to